Welcome to the Ace Ride With Us podcast, presented by the American Coaster Enthusiasts, the world's largest ride enthusiast organization dedicated to the appreciation, promotion, and preservation of roller coasters around the globe. Please keep your hands and feet inside the podcast at all times as we welcome in your host from CoasterCon 46 in California.
Hello, enthusiasts! It's your Ace Ride With Us podcast host, Jessica Gardner, and we are coming to you from day 5 of CoasterCon 46. We are here right now in the absolutely beautiful and historic Coconut Grove at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Has everybody had an amazing California day? Well, it's about to be an amazing Santa Cruz, California night, starting with this wonderful presentation that the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk has put together for us, starting with the Director of External Affairs and Strategic Development for the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Please give a warm Ace welcome to Chris Reyes.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. How are you? Everybody have a good time in the park today? Everybody ride the 100-year-old Giant Dipper roller coaster? The best old classic wooden roller coaster there ever was. We are so thankful to have you here today. Thank you for that warm introduction. I want to share that this is my 20th year at the boardwalk. I started in 2004, and one of the first lessons I was taught at the boardwalk by my boss at the time, Mark Lipton, was that when Ace comes to town, we roll out the red carpet. So I hope we have done a good job doing that for you today. We could not do that without our amazing banquets and events team who have put together this amazing room for you tonight and this amazing spread of food. So a warm round of applause for them would be much appreciated. Thank you. I have a couple announcements that I know my colleagues in the audience who have given me these announcements are petrified that I'm going to forget and screw up, which I very well might, but we're going to do this anyway. If you need to have your parking validated, please do so before you leave this room tonight. There's a parking validator right out in that lobby. If you forget, it will be much more difficult to do that during the ERT that you have planned later. So please, on your way out, make a point to get your parking validated. We have behind-the-scenes tours tomorrow that we're really excited to offer for you. And if you pulled up your napkin tonight and you found a brass carousel ring under your napkin, that means you are the winner of the behind-the-scenes tour. If you gave that away to someone at your table, whatever it takes to get it back, I encourage you to do that. But no violence, money, bribes, things like that. You get to bring one guest with you on the tour, and also at the end of the night, you'll want to go out to this room. Our archivist, Jessie Durant, who's actually sitting at this table right here. Jessie, wave your hand. She'll be sitting out there. You can sign up for one of the 3 tours, you and your +1, so make sure to do that tonight so we can get you all set for tomorrow. Also on your table are beautiful centerpieces, and if you would like to take that home with you, and you are sitting at the place with the golden napkin, you are the winner of the centerpiece. You get to take that home. So, I mentioned a moment ago that we are celebrating the Giant Dipper's 100th anniversary. We are very honored to be doing so this year, and we have a whole host of events planned throughout the year. We had a big celebration on May 17th, the official birthday of the Giant Dipper. And I hope you will agree that for a 100-year-old wooden roller coaster, the Giant Dipper looks incredible this year on its anniversary year. It looks incredible for 2 reasons. One, because we have such an amazing maintenance staff, led by our maintenance director, Forrest, who's sitting right over here, Forrest Lippman. He has an amazing team of coaster mechanics, carpenters, painters, and our operations team all take care of that ride with so much love and pride, and it looks amazing on its 100th anniversary. The second reason it looks amazing is because the incredibly talented Chris Baynum is sitting right here in the front table. His amazing team painted that Giant Dipper for us this past winter. And as you walk that ride and look at it this next couple days, think about how complicated that is to paint that ride. There are so many little nooks and crannies on that ride. But worst of all, or perhaps most challenging of all, they painted that ride during one of Santa Cruz's wettest winters on record. And they still got it done for us. They made it look beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here tonight. All right, we have a very special treat for you tonight. We have two amazing speakers. We're going to tell some stories, and this is a real treat, and I'm glad we're able to share this with you. As you all know, I'm sure, the Boardwalk is a family-owned park, and we are very proud of that fact. The two men who put the word family in family-owned park are here tonight to be with us. I want to introduce the first one. He is our executive vice president. His name is Tom Canfield, and Tom is like a living encyclopedia of Boardwalk knowledge. If you want to know just about anything about this place, find Tom at the end of the night. If anyone can stump him, you get to go to the front of the line during ERT tonight, okay? I guarantee you no one can stump. Tom Canfield, come on up. Our next speaker, guest for our panel, really needs no introduction, but we're going to introduce him anyway. He is a true legend in this industry. I'm going to editorialize for a moment. He might get a little mad at me for doing this. This man deserves to be in the IAPA Hall of Fame, and we have got to find a way to get him into the IAPA Hall of Fame for his preservation and celebration of not only family-owned parks, but seaside parks. He ensures that the Giant Dipper roars for another 100 years. He is an incredible leader here at the Boardwalk. The best piece of advice I have ever heard in my 20 years working here was from Charles Canfield, who said simply, just keep making it better. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Canfield. All right, how you guys doing?
I think we're doing all right.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good. Well, I got some questions for you guys. We're going to keep you in the hot seat for a while. Memories are obviously a big part of the amusement park experience. I'm wondering if you could each speak to your first memories at the Boardwalk.
Yes, it goes back quite a ways. It'd be back in the 50s, actually 1952, when my father took over as president. He was in the insurance business, and the president just died that worked here, and he and two other gentlemen had a controlling interest in the company. So I was at the dinner table, and he was talking to his wife, my mom, and he said, I don't know who's going to run that place. He's got quite a bit invested in it. So he decided to quit the insurance business and come down and run the Boardwalk. Well, he didn't know too much about it, but he, pretty smart fella. He took me on a trip around the U.S. going to parks, and I was 12, so I enjoyed that part very much. Got to ride all these crazy rides and stuff way back then. But that's how I remember it.
That's great. Thank you. Tom, how about you? First memory?
I was born here, so my first memory has probably been and gone, but my first memory is being an employee. Dates back to 1979, and working down in the old Colonnade before we rebuilt the Grove building here. I remember I was washing windows, cleaning displays, and that was back when we still had the Fort Ord facility over on Monterey Bay. And one of the service members came down. He had a long night and probably a longer morning, and I was sitting there washing windows, and I'm going along doing my job, and he walks up, puts his hand on it, runs it straight down it, and says, "You missed a spot." So that's one of my first memories of working here. My first memory of being here, like I said, been down here my whole life, so those have come and gone many times over.
Well, my next question is, what was your first job at the boardwalk? Because you both literally grew up here. Obviously, we just covered that with you, but Charles, what was your first job?
Well, I started at 16 working in the kiddie rides. You had to be 16 to run. Well, you could only run kiddie rides. You couldn't run any of the larger rides. So for 2 years, I was stuck in kiddie land. Wasn't all too bad, but kids are kids, especially when they're little. And I was real glad to get out of kiddie land. I have to say that.
And if I remember correctly, you operated Bulgy the Whale, which is still out on the boardwalk to this day.
What's that? Oh, rides.
Bulgy the Whale. Bulgy the Whale.
Oh, yeah, the Bulgy, I ran that. We had the Rocco plane, naturally, the merry-go-round, Giant Dipper, a couple others out there, little boat ride.
Nice. Anybody here going on their first Giant Dipper ride during CoasterCon? Great, welcome. That's a big number of people. Thank you. That's great. Tell me, if you would, both about your first Dipper rides that you remember.
On my first ride?
First Dipper ride.
Yeah, I remember that really well. I was scared to death. I hate to admit it, I've told people before that I wouldn't ride it until I got into high school after that first ride. I was a little embarrassed because all my friends would ride it without me.
Yeah, my first ride, I remember I was too short. I had to wait. I had to serve my time, had to grow a little. And the very first time, it was a white knuckle trip, and it was great. And it didn't take me long to graduate away from the white knuckle trip to having the hands up and just being slammed around and really enjoying the ride. Back when I first rode it, we didn't have the bucket seats. We had the big bench seat. So if you were on the inside, you were suddenly on the outside. And so it was just a lot of fun.
Tom, you were mentioning you had to wait and wait and wait. Didn't you know someone who could just get you on the ride?
You can't give up safety.
There you go. Safety first, ladies and gentlemen. Safety first. I want to ask you a couple quick questions, kind of outside the boardwalk. What is your favorite amusement park that you have visited, not the boardwalk?
Oh, there are an awful lot of them out there. I don't really have a particular favorite. Each one's so different, and they're all unique. And I just like the ones with the old roller coasters and some of the old shoot-the-chutes and what have you. A lot of those rides are gone now. But I remember the parachute drop in New York. That was kind of unique. And that one scared me a little bit, too.
Yeah, similar to Dad, you gain a little bit of something from every park you go to. I don't think I have a personal favorite. There are some that I like better than others, but I don't think I have a personal favorite. As far as probably my favorite coaster ride that's not here, I would probably lean towards the Hulk, just because I like the way it launches you over the lift hill. It's a unique experience.
Yeah, I was telling Tom today that I was at Universal Orlando in March. I've been there many times, but I was with my son who's 16, my cousin, and his son. None of them had been to that park, and we rode Hulk together, and it was very fun to go up that lift hill, knowing what was coming, but they didn't know, and they're just yapping away. They got quiet real fast on that ride, I'll tell you what. So, I mentioned at the outset that the Boardwalk is a family-owned park. Obviously, you're the family that owns the park. What do you think makes a family-owned park special and unique?
That's a good question. Sometimes we don't do it for the money. We collect things that are important to the industry. We try to maintain things well. And when my dad took over in '52, the park was really run down because World War II, there was not much in way of paints, metals, or anything else to repair things. So all the old parks were having a tough time. And if you didn't get in and start repairing things, a lot of them would get further down. And that happened to San Francisco. It happened to some of them in LA. And it's sad. You lose a lot of parks that way. You just got to keep investing.
Yeah, the one nice thing that we do that has been taught to me over the years is a fast nickel beats a slow dime, and you always want to reinvest. I mean, that was what Grandpa did. That's what my father's done. As we continue to move forward, you reinvest. But in doing so, you want to keep nostalgia current. So you want to keep a good mix of the old rides, the rides of yesteryear, as well as the new and exciting rides that are up and coming. The one thing that I love hearing when I walk through the park, and I see a generational family in there, and I overhear the grandparents talking to the grandchildren, and they say, "I remember when," and that truly resonates with me. That we're doing something right because they want to come back. They want to bring their kids back. They want to bring their grandkids back. So we're doing something right.
Great. Charles, you mentioned not always doing things that are about the money, and I think Laughing Sal being on display downstairs is a great example of that. I remember the day you were pounding the pavement in the offices looking for someone to tell you that bringing Laughing Sal to the boardwalk was a good idea. Can you tell that story?
Yeah, it was kind of tough on me because I wanted to buy her. She came out of San Francisco, and it was $40,000, and way back when I bought it was quite a bit of money. So I went around all the department heads and said, "Well, what do you think?" And "Oh, you're nuts." And God, I didn't have anybody else supporting me. And I went to the art director, and she always liked old things. And I asked her, "What do you think?" She said, "Go for it." And that's all it took.
I remember when Laughing Sal arrived, we all kind of gathered around this truck, and the door rolled up, and I thought, what is that? I was too young and dumb to understand the significance of it, but it was really powerful. I remember we got her dressed up, fixed up her clothes a little bit. We put her on display, a temporary display in the colonnade. We put red ropes around her. And one of our employees, we put a security officer next to her to keep her safe. And one of our employees went out to see her. And when she saw Laughing Sal, she immediately burst into tears, because she remembered what it felt like to see Laughing Sal with her family at Playland at the beach. And that was a really powerful lesson for me about how important memories are at the boardwalk and what we really do here.
Well, I remembered it up in San Francisco. It was right up in the fun house there, and you could hear her all over the park. It was pretty loud. We turned ours down too much, but I'm getting old, so I don't hear very well anyway, so...
I'm curious, I can't imagine, we all track steps now. That's the big thing we all do. We track our steps. I can't imagine how many steps the two of you have walked on the boardwalk over the years. To you, what makes the boardwalk special?
What made it special?
What makes it special?
It's the young kids. I told somebody today that, the only people getting older are us. I mean, we have the same crowd of young people every year, and they always have so much fun, and you can't beat fun, especially when families are having fun together. And a lot of times they leave their phones at home and they really get a family together and have a good time, and I think that's extremely important today. So That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I would agree. Again, going back to the generational, making memories with their loved ones. I'm going to step back and talk not just about Laughing Sal, but I don't know if you guys recall the questions they had up there, but Leo the lion, the paper reader. We had to take him out because he had a less than politically correct soundtrack. So Leo went up to my house and lived for years because I just couldn't let him go. And all of a sudden somebody said, "Hey, do you still have that thing?" And I'm all, "Yeah." So we ended up going up, getting him, bringing him back down here, rehabbing him, and giving him a much more politically correct soundtrack. And he's still in a park now. So it's part of that whole nostalgia and current and creating the memories that people remember from generation to generation about where they were, where they are, where they want to be. I've said this a couple of times. I've been in operations forever and a day, but nobody goes to an amusement park to have a bad day. So they're easy to take care of. All you have to do is listen. And if you do that, you're going to make their day. You're going to give them memories that they will cherish forever. And you just continue to move forward.
That's great. Thank you. We touched on things like Laughing Sal, Leo the paper eating lion, which I remember what it looked like when it came back from your house. It needed some TLC, that's for sure. Obviously, the Giant Dipper is a testament to this, but I'm wondering if you could both speak to why preservation matters in the amusement park industry and why you have both invested so heavily in preservation of iconic items like Laughing Sal here at the Boardwalk.
Well, I think it's extremely important. And, the merry-go-round's been around a long time. Everybody's got a merry-go-round. And the little kids just love those horses. We have the real wooden ones, and a lot of people take the band organs out. And I collected a couple of them. We had the original one with the merry-go-round, but I got two others. One I bought because it came out of San Francisco, and I thought I got it back east somewhere. I forget now, Ohio or somewhere. And it was a collector's, just in a big barn. And the merry-go-round was going to turn 100, and I tried to jazz it up with the other two organs. And people remember things. I mean, the merry-go-round hadn't changed in over 100 years. The Dipper's running for, its 100th year. And it's great to have continuity, things that we remember, the children remember, and it goes from generation to generation.
Yeah, again, it comes down to creating that generational connection between what we've always had, what we do have, and what we give to our guests. And that is the sense of nostalgia and the grandparents remembering when, the big ticket item was the Giant Dipper. That was kind of it as far as, what was the thrill ride. Then more gets added, things get changed in, get changed out. But you have some of those constants that allow people to make that connection within their own family, not just with the park itself, but within their own family to create those memories so that they can communicate with each other that, hey, we had a great time. We went down there. I remember we got some cotton candy and it got stuck in your hair or what have you, or whatever it is. But it's those memories of, you know, kids having cotton candy all over their face and everything, and you're looking around, you're grabbing a napkin, you take it over to them. It's like, here, you're going to need this. But things like that really kind of tie everything together, not just for us as a family, but for all of our guests, for you guys, just to keep things, again, like I said before, moving forward, creating a place that people want to be, and just creating memories for generations past and generations future.
One of our newest rides, actually the newest ride, is our Dream Wheel. Big wheel you saw out there about halfway through the park. I hope you get a chance to ride it. The views from that ride are stunning. We took our last wheel out in 2017 because it was just kind of time, and our guests let us know that they wanted a wheel back in this park. And it took us a good number of years to find the right wheel and the right location. What are your early impressions of that wheel so far?
Well, I think people enjoy it. I had somebody tell me that there are a couple people that it's in a nice spot walking down the walk. It really shows well. And it doesn't hurt to bring back, you know, the old rides. I mean, we've got a lot of old rides, and we don't change them out that much. It costs a lot of money when they get worn out. We took 2 out this year to replace, and we got a couple on order. So, the rides evolve, they get changed a little bit, but you're going this way, that way, and that's about all you can do.
Any thoughts on the new Dream Wheel, Tom?
It's actually, I was looking at a wheel before we even took the old Ferris wheel out. The one thing that really I thought was extremely important, we talked about just getting another Eli, but you lose so much just facing one direction. With this wheel, you have gondolas, you can see all the way around you. Depending on which side you sit on, you get views of the bay, you get views of the coastline, you get views of the city, you get views of the park. I think it's a much more dynamic ride, and it's something that we've kind of really needed. And personally, I think that every park should have a wheel. Yeah.
Charles mentioned it's good to bring back old rides. Does that mean we're getting a wild mouse someday soon?
People certainly remember that ride, but I don't know, it takes quite a bit of room. We took ours out quite a number of years back, but it was one of the first ones. We bought the plans from, I think, Patty Conklin, Conklin's fair people. It was designed in Germany. And people really still remember that ride, especially when it goes off the track a little bit. And then we took it, the original one turned inside the structure, and then we had it go out the back and around. And people thought they were going off the track when they went out that way. But it was a great ride.
Yeah, I think there are 2 kinds of boardwalk guests, those that remember the wild mouse and those that don't. And the ones that remember it have vivid memories of that ride. They have memories as if they rode it a week ago. It's really powerful to hear stories of people who rode the wild mouse.
Yeah, they haven't forgotten it, that's for sure.
Not at all. That is the ride that scared the hell out of me. It was a Schwarzkopf ride, and to understand it, the front trucks were so far back that the front of the car would go out on the hairpins on top, out over the edge of the track before it would turn. And I It scared the hell out of me. And we took it out in, I want to say 75 to put in the log ride. But nowadays they don't make them with that same dynamic where the trucks are so far back. They have the trucks out towards the front, and it's just not the same ride. Whether or not it comes back, we're restricted by the bay, by the river, by this building, and the train tracks. So there's only so much that we can do. Would we love to have one back? We looked at it several times over, but it just didn't fit in to the overall scheme of things. So I don't see it, and it's not the same as the original.
All right, we'll let you off the hook on that one, Tom. Couple final questions for you both. What do you see in the boardwalk's future? You think about what the boardwalk's going to be 25, 50 years down the road. What do you hope the boardwalk is that far down the road?
Well, I hope we're here. We have the ocean out front. Everybody says that's getting higher. We have issues now and then, but we've had them over the years where the water gets up on top of the walk. There's a few photos around that you might see. I think we'll be here a long time. I do worry about the weather patterns across the country. We're seeing them here also. And last 2 years, we've had water come up to the level of the walk. The lower end is much higher, and as we move forward, we'll probably be raising the walk as we expand and rebuild. But it's an issue for us because you can't do much about that ocean, and it can be really mean.
Tom, how about you? 50 years from now, what do you hope for the boardwalk?
Well, I would hope that we are still on the same track. We have a great group of people that are taking care of it in maintenance, in operations, and creating the experiences. Yes, the ocean's a concern, but at the same time, that's not something we can control. Let's worry about what we actually have control over, and continue to do what we can until that control is taken away from us. So we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence as far as making sure that the park is safe, the park is operational, the staff is well trained, and I keep kind of harping on it. We're able to make the memories for the families as we continue to move forward.
Well, I have thought a lot about it, and we're kind of fortunate because the railroad track gets higher as you go down. And looking at the park, I've thought of cutting the park. If this building sticks out further than any part of the boardwalk, and it'll probably be the first one that would go in high water or what have you. So we've got a lot of parking lots out there. I've thought about filling some of those, moving some of the rides, and reconfiguring to beat it. But that's a long way off. That's for somebody else to worry about.
Did I just hear an opening for the Wild Mouse?
It's funny. I guess I'm getting to an age where I start to think that when we're dealing with things here at the boardwalk, I wonder, is that a Chris Reyes problem, or is that a problem for someone else down the road to have to worry about? So that's very true. I have a final question for both of you. Tom, I want you to go first on this one. You both, I think, Charles, you touched on your father, Lawrence Canfield, who really got this whole thing started in terms of the family legacy here. If he could walk the walk today, what do you think his impression of it would be?
Which?
If Lawrence Canfield could walk the boardwalk today, what do you think his impression of it would be?
Sorry, I don't always catch everything with these ears. But he'd be very proud of seeing what it is. And what's here today took a lot of work and a lot of risk. We have big project going when we remodeled the first part of this building. It was in 82, when interest rates were going up. We were in the building process. It was $9 million. That's what we had budgeted for it. Well, we weren't quite finished at that, and the bank, never will forget it, the Bank of America, the president came down to look at this project, and that interest rate, we were on a floating, it was going from 10 to 12 to 14, 16, and my father and I were really, we didn't know if we were going to still have this place. But they, thank God that interest came back, or we probably would have lost it. So there's always risks. So we've had earthquakes, we've had, forest fires around here. There's always risk. But you have to just keep on going and taking certain risks. So anyway, I just say it's never an easy ride.
Tom, let me rephrase the question a little bit for you. I love that answer, by the way, Charles. If Lawrence was sitting on a bench today, eating some popcorn, looking at the boardwalk as it is now, what do you think he'd be thinking?
He'd be thinking that everybody's done a fantastic job keeping this place going with all of the other parks, seaside parks that have closed. We continue to thrive. He was the one who reinvested in this park. He was the one who took the bull by the horns and rebuilt that whole lower end back where when the cave train and the autorama were put in, and put those seawalls in to help keep the river going where it's supposed to go, and make sure that we were protected from the bay down at that end of the park. I could only imagine that he would be proud to see that, we continue to be very forward-thinking as far as creating the experience for our guests. Again, knowing that you have to reinvest in yourselves, otherwise you die on the vine like so many other parks have. There were just so many of them out on this coast, even more on the East Coast, but they looked at them as money grabs or cash cows or what have you. They kept pulling the money in and not reinvesting into what they had. Whereas both my grandfather and my father really have reinvested in not only just the park, but the building, the employees, the overall guest experience, to make sure that we continue to move forward, so that we continue to be here for our guests, and God willing, we're still kicking around in 100 years.
Well, I'm sure also he would feel a lot of gratitude for all the work that has happened over the last 50 years. In the same way, we all feel a lot of gratitude and gratefulness for the two of you and what you mean to this place and this industry and all the amazing work that you've done. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have now a couple presentations, so we have a couple gifts for you guys, so if you'll just hang out a minute. I want to invite up some very good friends of ours from ACE NorCal, Nicholas Lashkowitz and Robert Engel. Tom mentioned Schwarzkopf, and I know these two guys and others are working on an amazing Schwarzkopf documentary that I cannot wait to see. If it's as good as their Arrow documentary, I'll be the first in line to get a ticket to that. So gentlemen, if you'd come on up, please.
Good evening, everybody. How are you all doing? Surprise, I'm here. It's nice to see a lot of you tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nicholas Lasquich. I am the former regional representative for the Northern California region of ACE. I held that position for 8 years. Thank you. Was an assistant for 4.5 years before that. So for half my life, I've been involved in ACE for 15 years. I know I look pretty good. I know. And I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Robert Engel, the Assistant Regional Rep for the Northern California region.
So we've talked a lot tonight about making memories that last a lifetime, and that's one of the cores of the mission statement of the Santa Cruz Seaside Company and the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. And a big part of the history of this place, as you all know, is the historic Giant Dipper, which turned 100 years old last month. Let's give a round of applause for that. The coaster has been awarded many accolades over the years. It's been a National Historic Landmark since '87. It's been a ACE roller coaster landmark since 2007. And with the 100th anniversary being this year, and how much we as a club appreciate and the care that has been put into the ride from these two individuals here, as well as Forrest and Chris also in the audience, we have partnered with the park to present this special plaque. And Robert, I'll have you rotate this around. This is not an ACE roller coaster landmark, as it already is, but this is a plaque that's honoring the maintenance personnel that have kept this ride running for 100 years. And I'm going to read it off to you. Honoring 100 years of passion and preservation, a tribute to Boardwalk coaster mechanics and maintenance staff, past, present, and future. In celebration of the Giant Dipper's 100th anniversary, the Northern California region of the American Coaster Enthusiasts recognizes the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk's coaster mechanics and maintenance staff, past and present, for their dedication to this national treasure. For 100 years, this talented group of individuals has ensured the Dipper's preservation and continual operation through a century of progress and change. By being recognized as an ACE Golden Age coaster, an ACE roller coaster landmark, and a National Historic Landmark, the Giant Dipper has entered a rare and privileged status that very few roller coasters have obtained. With gratitude and admiration, coaster enthusiasts worldwide celebrate these skilled craftsmen for ensuring this classic wooden coaster remains a constant source of joy and happiness for generations of Boardwalk visitors. Presented by the Northern California region of the American Coaster Enthusiasts, and we actually presented this initially during a VIP event held on May 17th, which was the 100th anniversary event. We're happy to show the thing to all of you guys here. So we celebrated that on the 100th anniversary of the Giant Dipper's opening day here at the Boardwalk. So we'd like to present this award to Tom and Charles here. Great. Thank you very much for being here. Let's give them another round of applause for everything they've done here. You'll see this plaque by the ACE Roller Coaster Landmark plaque very soon. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Thank you, Robert. Two things. One, this plaque, I believe, Forrest can tell me if I'm speaking a lie, is going to be installed tomorrow morning during your ERT. So you will see this plaque installed in its new home during its ERT. And I just want to recognize Nicholas in particular. He has been an amazing part of the Boardwalk family for many years. You all probably know this, but Nicholas rode the carousel 100 times in one day for the carousel's 100th anniversary. And we love Nicholas. We almost never say no to Nicholas, except when he called and said he wanted to ride the Giant Dipper 100 times in one day in celebration of the Giant Dipper's 100th anniversary. And for Nicholas's own preservation and protection, we declined that request, but we love the spirit and the enthusiasm. Thank you both very much. We have one more presentation. I would like to introduce the ACE Events Director who helped put this all together today, Stephen Barreton, and ACE President Elizabeth Ringus to present something to Charles and Tom as well.
Thank you for having us out. What an incredible event. Is everyone having a great night celebrating? We are so honored to celebrate 100 years of the Giant Dipper with you. And in honor, we have this photo taken by ACE member Harris Lanham. ACE has incredible photo archives, and I thought this was such a beauty that I wanted to share with all of you to have and to always remember our visit. This is for you to enjoy from CoasterCon 46 and all the ACE members. It has been such an incredible experience, and I love seeing all those hands go up that you're going to experience the coaster for the first time. And is this your first visit to Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk for all of you that are riding for the first time? So excited for you to experience a Giant Dipper tonight during ERT. Nighttime, if you rode it during the day, is even better. But thank you all for all you put into hosting us, and we know it's an incredible endeavor that takes an entire team, and we're appreciative of each of you that put it together. Yes. Anything else?
Thank you.
Our final presenter of the night is someone that I am excited about introducing because I have been trying to get him on the ACE podcast for 2 years, but this person is so busy painting all our coasters, and so I haven't wanted to take him away from his work too hard, but I am so happy he's here to talk to us tonight. If you've ever looked at a roller coaster and said, wow, that looks so beautiful, it was probably painted by Baynum Solutions, and so we are so excited. This is the founder of Baynum Solutions here with us tonight. Everybody give a warm ace welcome to Chris Baynum.
Well, good evening. What a pleasure, a privilege it is to be here with you folks, and I appreciate the invitation from ACE and from the Canfield family and Santa Cruz Beach and Boardwalk to be here. And I hope what I can take over the next few minutes is share part of my journey over the last 42 years in the painting business and how it came about. I'll show you some pictures that are amazing, exciting, iconic, challenging, and absolutely some embarrassing stories transparently to share with you. As everyone here has a story of why you love the amusement parks or a coaster or the amusement park industry, I have one as well. I was born and raised in northern Kentucky. I still live there. My childhood park as a little child was Coney Island, which is defunct now, no longer there. As a little bit older in my teen years was Kings Island there in Cincinnati. My first date with my wife of 40 years in May was at Kings Island. And then we got married at Coney Island. So when I say that the amusement park industry is in my heart, it really is. And that's before any business came along at all. So we get this little clicker thing going here. So there we go. That's my first touch with the amusement park thing. This was painting Sunlight pool at Coney Island in Cincinnati. And I was 23 years old at the time. I was a house painter. The last thing I wanted to do was be a painter. I was trying everything I could to get out of it, to get into sales, just did not want to be involved in the painting industry. But when that picture was taken, I hung it on my wall, and a mentor of mine came by and just went on, man, you painted the world's largest pool. I'm like, oh, that's just Sunlight pool. It's just a bunch of paint on a pool. He goes, no, it's the #1 in the world. And it kind of stroked a young ego, and I thought about it. It was kind of cool. And that fall of 1985, the word got out that Kings Island was going to paint the Beast at Kings Island. And of course, that time still holds some of the records for the world's longest, fastest wooden roller coaster. Being my childhood park, or the park that I grew up in, I was excited about it. I went out and met with the folks at Kings Island. At this point, I had only painted houses and Sunlight pool. But I talked to the gentleman, an old German man named Jim McDermott, and convinced them that I had the means and the ability to do it. So with that picture, those are 4 of my high school buddies, a few of my high school buddies there, and an ad in the paper, I figured out I needed about 30 people to paint this coaster starting in the fall of '85 and finish it in the spring of '86. So I ran an ad in the paper, high pay for high heights. You meet me at the parking lot at Kings Island, and literally in the parking lot, did the interviews on spot. I paid everybody the same thing, $12 an hour. You get a belt and a paintbrush. And so we hired right on the spot. And I'm so happy to say that there's 3 of the guys that were hired that day and 40 years ago that still work with us today in the company. So we're really, really proud of that. So there's, I'll flip through this real quick. So there I am in 1985 on the Beast project. Now I did what every young, wise person would do. I finished that project, made more money than I'd ever made in my entire life by 3 times, and I retired, went out and bought myself a sports car, and I was done. That's not an exaggerated story. That's truly what I thought. In a young mind, I didn't have to work anymore. But fortunately, a few months went by, and reality set in, and I realized I had to take this opportunity and capitalize on it. So the following year, in 1986, we did our first major project away from Cincinnati. We got the invitation to come down to King's Dominion in Virginia and paint their Eiffel Tower. We did it. By chance, again, it was a success for us. I started learning a whole lot, getting experience. And just as a side note, so that's King's Dominions. Kings Island has one, as all you folks know. We have painted both of those towers 3 times over the last 36 years. So a total of 6 times we've painted the Eiffel Tower. And like anything else in life, experience pays off, doesn't it? So it's one of them projects we can pull up. The parks know it, we know it, and we hit the ground running, and that's the reason we've had the ability to paint those projects so many times. But through those years of experience, there's things that I'll share with you that were not so pleasant. Now this next shot, I've seen some folks from Houston over there. You might recall the Batman ride at Astroworld. So this was 1988, so I'm 5 years into business, still green, still learning. And my dear friend Steve Hickey, who was in that first photo of us at the pool, was my best friend. He's still my best friend today and still works with me today. But on a Sunday morning when I was home in Kentucky, Steve took it upon himself to do something. And now that I'm going to describe this to you, as you're going up the next time you're up a chain hill, look to your left or your right, and you'll see those steps going up the hill. And if you think from a painter's eye, every one of those cleats that you see on the steps has got about an inch and a half depth to it. So as a painter, he said, the time that would take me to jab all those little holes would take forever. It's a Sunday, there's no one around, I'll just spray them. Again, he's still my best friend. Monday morning, I get a phone call. This is before cell phones, this is before caller ID, and I answer by phone, and the gentleman says, is this Chris Baynum? I said, it is. He goes, my name's Mike Calvert. I don't know if that name rings a bell to you folks from Houston, but I said, yes, sir. He said, I own Mike Calvert Toyota. We sit right next door to Astroworld. And I felt the blood rush out of my body. And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, we have 300 cars, brand new cars, that I cannot move, I cannot sell, that are covered with overspray. So I jumped on a flight, went down. I still to this day have never talked to Mike Calvert again, never met him in person, but I met with his folks. We started trying to do a workout. It almost took me out because with the insurance industry, they have little loopholes, and one of them is if you overspray 10 cars, that's 10 different claims. And so I was looking at over $100,000 worth of overspray, and we were able to work out something with Mike Calvert Toyota and with our insurance company. So we made it through that, but that's 1988, and what a lesson learned. So still this day, with very few exceptions, when you see our projects, think about it being 4 to 7 inch brushes and rollers, because we'll never experience another catastrophic event like that overspray was there. So a life lesson. My next life lesson is a little bit more embarrassing. In 1990, I was at IAPA, displayed at IAPA, and Mr. Albert of Coney Island, New York, approached my booth, introduced himself to me, and said he wanted to see what it would take to paint the Cyclone. Now you can imagine, for any of us that know in the industry, I mean, the Cyclone, the granddaddy of them all, and I'm like, are you kidding? I would absolutely love to. I had never been to New York before, but I was excited, set a date with Mr. Albert to go there. I flew to New York, first time ever, landed, and they said, we'll have someone pick you up. This is where the Kentucky part comes in. So someone picks me up, I walk out, it's just like you see, someone's holding my name, I'm feeling kind of proud of myself, I get in the car, takes me out to the park, and I spend the day comparing that to, at that time I think we had done 5 other wood coasters, similar structures, but this is the Cyclone, I mean, whatever it takes. So I'm working on it, I got this thing together, and I'm gonna go back to my hotel, and their driver, Mr. Albert said, well, let me have our driver take you over to the hotel. And I was like, no, I'll just take a cab. He said, no, you don't want to take a cab, trust me. From Brooklyn to Manhattan, you don't want to take a cab. So I get in the car with the gentleman who was family also, and as we drove closer, I just didn't think about this, being a hillbilly. I had booked a room at the Ritz-Carlton in Manhattan, New York, and in hindsight, you look at it, you think about those impressions people have on people. And I was actually wearing painter's whites. And so we get close, and I gave the guy the address, and we came around the corner, and the driver literally turned to me and said, let me get this right. We're gonna hire a painter from Kentucky, and you're staying at the Ritz-Carlton in Manhattan? I said, well, yeah, there's a story to it. It's a long story. Drop me off. I tried forever to reach the Albert family and never got a return phone call. It really made an impression on me as a young person. Now that kind of stuff can slate someone's thinking, and it's what it did. Unfortunately, 26 years, no one had an opportunity to do it. 26 years later, when Zimprella took over and Valario called us, and we got to go up and meet with him, and we were able to paint the Cyclone. I'm happy to say in 1990 we had the privilege of completing that most iconic project. So that's 8 years ago? No, sorry. I'm sorry, that was 2016. So we got 8 years, 9 years. We're starting to think about if they follow the route of the Canfield family in Santa Cruz, hopefully it's come up around the corner again for us to come back up to Coney Island. I'll share with you a few other challenges on projects. Some of these pictures I'm sure you friends have seen from our posting or from the Museum Today or from ITPS posting, but sometimes the backstory is kind of interesting. This was the Twister 2 out of Dealey's Gardens, and as many of you know, that was John Pierce's final designed roller coaster. And so I had met him a few years earlier, worked with him on a project, so he called us out. We gave him the price to paint the ride installed because that's what I knew, that's the math I knew. But he had something different. He didn't want to do that. He wanted this to last a long time, so he wanted it painted on the ground first and then erected and put the finish coat on it. So I thought it was a pretty simple undertaking, but when you look at that wood and you think about it up there, there's a method to our madness there. But when you see semi trucks lined up in a parking lot and they're just offloading stacks and stacks and stacks of wood, and you have to tag it, you have to know how you took it down, you have to paint it 4 times and turn it over each time, let it dry, restack it. It was a huge, huge undertaking, but at the end of the day, it was a successful project for us as well. Another challenge, unexpected challenge. This is the Scream Machine down in Atlanta. As many of you might know, that park tends to flood because they're by a creek. This was during the spring, big spring flood, and the flood kept coming and kept coming. And we had a deadline to meet, so literally the guys called the office and said, we're having a challenge with our time and our hours because we literally have to get in a boat and row out to the coaster each morning to get our day started. The nighttime projects. I think it'd be nice to share with you, friends, because of your time in the parks, and think about how does some of this stuff get done. For all the parks that are open year-round, almost all of them, so we got, that's Busch, Universal, Knott's, Magic Mountain, a lot of other parks are doing the year-round opening, and we know that they don't want the rides down, you don't want the rides down. And I can tell you, they won't take a ride down so that we can make it look better. They'll take a ride down when they have to, when there's a mechanical issue or whatever. So a lot of thought, time, extensive safety measures goes into us painting the projects at nighttime. Not to mention, what was logical, paint and moisture don't work. So when we go into paint a coaster at night, it's a challenge because we think about dew factors and water that comes in and rain that comes in and all those different factors. But a lot of the coasters you see that are completed on parks that open year-round, we're able to do those at nighttime. This was just recently, I think you may have realized that's Mako down at SeaWorld. SeaWorld, like any other park, doesn't like to shut a ride down, but they had a mechanical issue. They were waiting for a part, and they said, now that's a project that size is a 10-week project for our crew. And keeping in mind, we can't just hire people and let them go. We have people that have come up through the company all these years, so it's a lot of highly skilled men, as we'll see in some of the pictures coming up. But they said, we've got 5 weeks to do it, and we don't want it done at night. So we doubled our teams up. We worked 20 hours a day, 2 different shifts, and 1 day short of 5 weeks, we were able to complete the Mako project this past year. Other little surprises, not a surprise, but Thunderbolt up in New England, as well as other coasters we've done in the past. Those old coasters often have lead-based paint put on them. So that has been painted by us 3 times, and it stops all our normal process. We go into all the hazardous waste materials and containment and all the safety factors to do that. And but ironically, after you've done it so many times, you're taking so much paint off each time we do it, it eventually gets around to where there's simply none of the old paint left on there. So that happens from time to time as well. Accelerator at Knott's, that's a couple years ago. It's kind of cool. You see the picture on the left of the guys coming down it. And when I see this, every time I think to remind these conversations, that's 10 years before we did that project, we put samples on there for them. That's not unusual. We put the samples on so they can look at the colors and make sure design likes them and see how the colors are going to perform in the different elements or whatever. But Accelerator gave us an unusual challenge, and it's right there on the corner of Western and La Palmer Street in LA. So although the park was able to quarantine people well away, the guests away from where we were working at, but when you're 210 feet in the air and a painter drops a paintbrush and there's a highway right below you, there's no exception to safety at all. So everything the guys have, everything they take up, from a water bottle to a paintbrush to a paint bucket, everything has to be tethered to the basket. So if they happen to have a slip up, it's not a tragic incident that we have. Up to the shot, there's another shot of the guys. That's the old Vortex, which is no longer there. And I thought it was kind of cool to give you a shot of what the guys do. So it's basically a steel cage, steel basket, and there's a cable that goes to it. They zip up and zip down. Very, very time consuming, but it's the way to get it done when you can't access a structure. It's the best way to get to it. And our guys have just mastered that, at being very efficient with getting the coasters done that way. But now I want to talk about personal sacrifice for me. The things you do for your company to make it better, kind of as any of you have your own business would think about. And this was one of the biggest sacrifices I've ever made for our company. Back in, see if I got my year right, 2019, got a call from S&S. Said, we have a project for you coming up. And we've worked with them. We love working with those folks. And they started describing the project, and it's right up our alley. And then they said, it's at Kennywood. We love the people at Kennywood. We're happy, we're excited. And of course, everything's on the QT about what it's going to be, but we agreed to it. And unfortunately, as I mentioned before, I was born and raised in Northern Kentucky, Greater Cincinnati, and anybody that knows me knows that I am a diehard bleed for the Cincinnati Bengals. I had to make a sacrifice for the company, and we did it. Everyone, my friends, know how I felt about it. We laughed about it. I promised the folks at Kennywood while we laughed about it that I would never post that. So you're seeing something that's never been posted. And people look out for me. My friend Melissa's here with me tonight. She made sure we tagged that baby. Yeah, we had to take it off, but it was fun while it lasted. Retheming of coasters is the most exciting thing for myself, for our team. Whenever there's a total retheming, it's exciting to see the big drastic color change. I'm sure you'll agree. I'll just kind of zip through some of the cool pictures. And of course, that's New England when it was first Superman, and then we painted it to Bizarro, and then a few years later, it went back to Superman. So those theming changes happen for reasons I don't always understand. It's a lot to do with the way the parks, whatever agreements they have with their sponsors, but that is a pretty exciting project for us. My favorite, wow, if you haven't been there. Isn't that awesome? That was the first drastic, wow project that we ever did, to take X, turn it to X2. That's 17 years ago that we did that. Dang it, you go there, it still looks good. It really does. Kings Island Racer, home park. Anticipation built. We knew something was going to happen. We knew the 50th was coming up, and they kept replacing wood, and it kept looking uglier and uglier, and I just kept waiting for them to finally say, okay, we're going to do it. So sure enough, for the 50th, Kings Island refinished it, and we went back to the old traditional colors, which was awesome, and with the coasters going back and forward, and I got the old racer theme back. I thought this would be a cool picture to share with you, friends. That's Sky Rush over at Hershey Park. And they're a nice client. We do work for them. I've done most all their work. And they called one day. They wanted to get this project done. And I got over and we got looking at it real closely. I'm like, you know what? That is an algae, because that's the coaster that goes over top of the lake. It's an algae. I'm not a chemist. Don't understand how that works. But we got a chemist involved to help us make up an algae side that we could clean the coaster and not worry about the algae side going into the lake and killing the fish and so on. So for about a third of the price, because that coaster paint job was only a few years old, we were able to make some efficiencies, and we just cleaned the Sky Rush only without it being painted. And you can see the nice finish that left them too. So that is an option as well. Man, close second to X. Woo. Isn't that spectacular? Ironically, both at the same park, and I just shout out to Six Flags Design when they make those big changes. That's another one, 9 years of every year it being on the radar, being on the table to see if we were going to get it or not. They made the commitment to us, but 9 years when we went from the original samples to what they did. And hands down, our most challenging project in the 42 years of the company was doing Tatsu, because of the terrain, the spider work and all stuff. Very, very slow process, but at the end of the day, I think they had a phenomenal color scheme and finished job there. There we go, Top Thrill. Woo. We had the privilege of painting Top Thrill 10 years ago when the first time it got repainted. We got that project, and it was exciting. It went flawlessly for us. So obviously they put us in the A position when Cedar Fair was going to do the transformation to Top Thrill 2. I think that's really cool shot, because you can get a perspective, the size of those columns as you go up. Now that's 400 feet in the air, and as one of my guys says all the time, this is what my office view is all day long. I don't know how they do it. I'll go up on top of the coaster on the platforms with white knuckled on the rail, but those guys get out there, and of course safety is of utmost importance. But you can kind of see that guy in the middle, the big one. Look at the size of him to the size of that column, and the skill set that he has when it comes time to paint the upside of that column. And it's all safety done with double harness and so on, but he literally has to get that basket as close as he can to the steel and climb up and reach around to make it work. So really just phenomenal skill level that those guys that work with us have. Of course, there's one more of the before and after of it, and I know we're all really looking forward. Did anybody get a chance to ride it in the short time? Man, I wish I was you. So that was awesome. Yeah, so we're really looking forward to that being open for a long time when they get through the kinks worked out here. All right, let's see here. Package, let's see, is that the right one? Oh, Phantom. I'm assuming most people in this room know, but general public maybe not realize as much as how cool it was that Kennywood's marketing folks put the color out. Remember that? They let you pick the color, and they threw 2 or 3 different colors out. I voted. 70,000 people voted on that color. And as it turned out, they went with the purple and the black. And when it was all said and done, they got grief also, because, as you know, just right up the road is the Baltimore Ravens, and their color is purple and black. So their color, their theming came back to haunt them a little bit, but that really a nice color choice when they changed the Phantom project. I put that in there because it was kind of cool. When a park comes to us, and Kennywood was one of the ones that did it, they came and said, we really want to do a capital improvement on the whole park. And those are 4 major projects. We would be thrilled to have one of those. But we had the privilege of, over a 2-year period, they signed an agreement. We discounted as far as we could, and we got the privilege of doing all 4 of those projects over the last couple of years. And boy, does the park look fantastic now. And for those who are able to make it, we'll be at the Golden Tickets will be at Kennywood this coming year. Similar to that, right up the road, we did the same thing with Great America. I didn't bring any pictures of it because you guys were just there yesterday, but the Great America did a similar thing where we did the flight deck, Psycho Mouse, Woodstock, and Drop Tower all over a 2-year period, and they kind of packaged them together. So anytime you folks can plug for us to do a package deal with the parks, you put that in the suggestion box all you want. I'm so proud to show this picture. I have been calling on the folks down at Dollywood. That's a local park. It's 4 hours from home. And I've been calling on them for 15 years. We've never got a project. The good news is no one else got the project either. It's not neglect. If you've been to the park, that beautiful park, the setting, they've done it so perfectly. The theming back in the mountains and the evergreen, the trees, and the way it sets back in there, they get away with the coasters being hidden from the sun. The colors, when they do fade and knock down a little bit, they look okay, they look rustic. So Dollywood has done a great job at designing their coasters and the theming. And fortunately for us, when they built Fire Chaser, there's no trees around. So I think it was 8 years it sat there, and finally the color died down enough, and we had the privilege of painting that one this past spring. And boy, the folks there were just great to work with, as they are as a park. They are in their maintenance and their ownership as well. And so we're anticipating there may be some more projects coming up with Dollywood here in the near future. That's an old picture. As Melissa and I were putting this together, I was just flipping through pictures, and hundreds of pictures of coasters, and this just caught my eye, and it just is one of them. Rob Cole, the guy on the shoulders, Rob's been working for us for 25 years. He started when he was 16 years old, and that is him today. That's how he hustles. And so I was over on the tower of the project trying to get a picture of the coaster because it was the day we finished. The lifts had been pulled off, the equipment was gone, and Rob, taking initiative, seen a spot that we missed, called his buddy over, climbed up his back, and got the spot done. I took the picture, and it tells a really wonderful story about hard, dedicated people that work with us. And no, I wouldn't post it for OSHA. It's really not that bad. But that's Rob Cole, still just a rock star employee. Okay, getting towards the end here. Velocicoaster. I think it's really important to share this with you because if you don't know, as being guests of the parks, almost all the coasters come in, and you think about it, you'll see the pictures when they're laid down there, when they bring them in, they come in, and then sometimes they get nicked up a lot, and sometimes they get nicked up a little, but either way, we solicit and we try to sell, we successfully sell touch-up packages to the park. But here's the interesting thing, when they really get hit hard as Velocicoaster did, don't know the reason, but when we go in to do a touch-up, we give them a formula, here's what it's going to cost to touch your coaster up before it's ever brought there. But when we get there and it's this bad, then we sit down with ownership and say, can we make a suggestion, help you make a really efficient decision? Because if you look at your coasters now in some of the parks, especially the new steel coasters with the big columns, and you see little spots everywhere, the leopard spots, that's with good intentions. That's when a coaster didn't need touched up that much and they just hit those spots. That could be the exact gallon of paint that came with the coaster. But what happens is the coasters come across the ocean. They sit here for sometimes months and months and sometimes years before they get around to the erecting part. They erect them, and the paint that goes on there isn't going to fade the same rate as what we put on. So we encourage the park, when it really is a lot of touch-up, to go ahead and let us work it out to just face the coasters off. So you'll notice as you look at new coasters now, the ones that you'll see the spots or the not spots, and that's not that the parks are doing it right or wrong. They having a brand new coaster, they should just be able to touch it up, but sometimes it goes a little bit further than that. There goes Maury's Pier, little seaside coaster. Our first project to do with the Maury family was that nor'easter there. It was white. If you haven't seen it, it's really cool. They did a gradual color scheme, 7 different colors, from dark to light to the ocean. But between us, 500 people, that's not the reason I go to Maury's Pier. At the end of the pier, Sam's Pizza. And the Maury's know I feel that way. When I get a call, I'm like, I'm coming out because I want a slice of Sam's Pizza. The best pizza in the world, and that's it. Obviously, Maury's are great folks, and we enjoy working for them too. But now I'm getting back to my conclusion. I'm going to go to my conclusion to share with you my love for the parks and for the industry, and to sit and talk to friends, and they'll ask you questions similar as they did just to Tom and Charles about your favorite this, your favorite that. And I have, for years, it's not coincidence that I have jumped at the opportunity to come here and speak with you folks at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, because for years, my friends have asked me, we have done work at 211 amusement parks. We've painted 240 coasters, 4 different continents. And if you say, what's your favorite amusement park, Chris Baynum? Hands down, I'm not embarrassed to say it, Santa Cruz Beach and Boardwalk. That's it. If it's your first time here, you're kind of getting a taste of it already. You'll be back. It is special. It's Americana, and we do a lot of the seaside parks everywhere else. There's just something special about here. My first time here, and the first time the Canfield family trusted us to do a project for them was in the year 2000, so 24 years ago. We've been a service provider for them. They've entrusted us 3 times to paint the Giant Dipper. What a privilege that is, and a bunch of their other rides as well. And I don't know if they know how I feel, but outside of the friendship, this place is it. So thank you. I rambled and forgot to show you the picture. So there's the undertow, and of course a great shot of our folks. And I love that picture on the left of all that was the crew. The same crew, not with a few exceptions, but we were talking about this last night. The same crew that painted it 24 years ago is still here and was able to paint it for us this last year. So it shows a lot about our guys and their efforts and diligence. I'll conclude with this. I have a goal in life. I'm getting old. I'm stepping back. Walt Bowser, I don't know if some of you know Walt. Walt's stepping up and taking us to a different level with the solutions and all the different things we're doing. I have a goal at my age, and that's to be this cool. True story. That's 10 years ago. That was my first ride on Giant Dipper with Mr. Canfield. Look how cool he is. Arm on the thing. I look cool too, just not as cool as him. So thank you again, Acers. Thank you so much for all you do for us, for putting our name out there, for watching out for us, for the accolades, for replying to our posts. Canfield family, Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, thank you so much for the trust and confidence you've put in us.
I have been told that we have a little bit of time, so I'd love to do a little bit more questions with you if we could. If anybody has one in the audience and wants to raise their hand, one shot up in the back. I have some too, but I'll take yours first. Go for it. The question was about different climates and having to paint in different ones like Kennywood versus Magic Mountain and things like that.
Excellent. Nice question, and experience pays off with that. I'll tell you, it's kind of our favorite product, just generally speaking. It's called a polysiloxane. That is an epoxy urethane blend. We put that on the undertow 5 or 6 years ago. That is a product we use probably 90% of the time. It holds color and gloss real well. It's got corrosion protection. On the wood coasters, unfortunately, they are what they are, and that is good old the premium house paint that you would use at home, and that's we're kind of locked to that choice with those. But a real good question, and it varies. We do use when we go north, especially because, as you can imagine, when the parks close is when we're without in. So in a park up north, including we did a project up in Canada a few years ago, a park closes down, and we're working in not sub-zero, but real low temperatures, below freezing temperatures. There's products that are designed take us down to 0 degrees. It's tough on the guys, and we'll have some challenges, but there's products designed that are meant to cure in those elements. But thanks for asking that question.
What about for a seaside park like Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk? What about the Giant Dipper?
Products are similar, and what the folks here have done excellent is it's a matter of keeping up with it. So sometimes the parks kick it down the road further and further. You see what I see, but if they keep up with it in a reasonable amount of time, then it always looks good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Question right up front here, Leanne. The question was, at the beginning of your talk, you said you didn't want to be a painter. How do you feel now about being a painter?
It's been a wonderful career in life. I mean, my family, my smile is how I feel about it. And as Mr. Canfield said, the industry is so special. I came over last night about 10 o'clock. I just walked the boardwalk, and I've been here 100 times, and it never stops just to listen to the laughter and to see the smiles and the excitement. Every park has it, and that's so the career choice has been an absolute blessing. Thank you for asking that.
And you haven't just painted roller coasters. There was a time where you were Baynum Painting, and now you're Baynum Solutions, right? And you've also, can you talk a little bit more about why that changed and projects you've done? Because I think you also painted Cedar Point's Boardwalk.
We've done a lot. So a lot of changes in the last 10 years. And again, I mentioned Walt Bowser. When he came over from Flags, he's been with us for 10 years now, and he had bigger visions. And as I wind down a little bit, he wants to take us to different levels. So as you may know, we've pulled guys that are retired from other parks, longtime friends, relationships. They're kind of getting away from that, or maybe retired but still want some interest. So we're using that resource, of that knowledge they have. So we have been, for the last 5 years, building coasters, building rides. Now, not the big B&M and M&Ms and stuff like that, but we did the Mouse up at the boardwalk up at Cedar Point, which is a great project for us. The water parks business continues to boom as those slides and towers are getting tired. We do life floor. So we changed from Baynum Painted Solutions because people were getting confused. Why is a painter erecting my ride? Well, we're not just a painter. We've got the resources to do all your services in the amusement park. Not all. A lot of the services in the amusement park related to coasters.
Sorry, I had a hand up right there. They have a question about, do you actually repaint water slides?
For clarification, we do. It's called gel coating. It's not paint. It's completely different. Matter of fact, we make a lot of money fixing people who painted slides. So we gel coat the slides. But yes, we do refinish slides, so it's a big part of the business.
Is it the same process to paint in North America versus other continents?
That is a great question. We've been to Asia, we've been to France, and it is always different. And the biggest challenge we have is the resourcing of equipment. We're used to what we have here in the States, and we know everything. So resourcing equipment is a challenge, and then also the coatings are tough, are different. We have to. It's a lot of due diligence up front to work with the paint manufacturers to find products that we're familiar with, and even if it's not sold by our brands that we know, we're able to work with the paint manufacturers to get the right coatings. So really nice question.
I have a question. It's two of my favorites from Six Flags Magic Mountain up there, where a lot of us are headed on Saturday. That park has got a lot of challenges with all of its different elevations, like Tatsu, for example. That must have been, I remember some of that happening. Can you talk about the challenges about working in a park like that?
Yes, that's the one, and I think I referenced it by saying it's probably our most challenging project ever was Tatsu, because those spider baskets, again, when I talk about them, and the technique of that is unique. We've got a lot of guys, but it's not our whole crew, and we can't hire someone to jump in a basket. That has years of training to be able to do that, and especially when it comes to transferring. Yeah. So that project just takes the highest skill, the best guys we have, which becomes a challenge. We're pulling all of our resources to put in one project. So for a while, we have to postpone or hold back our other parks while those high-skilled guys are on those things. So we're glad to have them, but we'd like to spread that a little bit more if we could.
And besides Top Thrill 2, are there any other coasters that you've painted that you have not yet been on? Or have you been on all of them? You're a coaster enthusiast like us, clearly.
I had about 140 coasters that I have ridden, and that was maybe a year or two ago. The problem is with me, especially as time goes on, I don't love it the way I used to. Stomach doesn't love it the way I used to. Yeah. And secondly, we're at the parks when the parks aren't open. So we come in as soon as they close, and unless I'm happen to be there for a weekend operation or the ride maintenance folks invite me on the coaster, I don't get that opportunity much anymore, but it's kind of limited.
Got it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? The question from Lisa is, what's the most fun coaster you've painted?
Giant Dipper.
Why was it fun?
I don't know. You know, honestly, the whole experience for the first time being 23, the Beast at Kings Island, I mean, it was just amazing what I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And I look back at that, and it's fascinating that they had a trust and confidence in me and then the guys. So that was probably the most fun because I learned every day, and it was all of what we accomplished every day. So that's,
how long did that take? Do you remember?
I do. It took us 4 months. 2 months in the spring, in the fall, and we finished it the 2 months of the fall and spring. Yeah.
Have techniques changed since then? Were you able to expedite it and make it faster?
They have changed a lot. Now that would be a product where we would probably spray a lot because it's an acrylic. Back then it was an oil stain, and I'm proud to say that's 30 something. It still has never been repainted since we did it. So those old products hold up a little bit differently than they do today because of environmental issues and VOCs and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so the technique would change. We would probably do a little bit of spraying on that because it's off midway. Back then, matter of fact, for us old timers, Kings Island had that wild safari, so it wasn't even an option to spray. We had to brush and roll that.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, of course. Nicholas. The question is about dream projects, any bucket list projects.
I promise you there is. I just don't talk about them because I don't want anybody else to get ahead of this one. It's nice to say, and this isn't a challenge, we really have never had a national competitor. We have competitors here in California. If we go up to Magic, there's guys that'll paint a coaster there. He doesn't leave LA. We go down to Orlando. We have been working for a year at Epic, and there's good contractors there, but they don't leave Orlando. So we've got that edge, and then with the experience, kind of like I was talking about the Eiffel Tower, with that experience, the parks know, and we don't say it arrogantly, we say it because they know our experience, and when we tell them this is a budget number for your coaster, we're always spot on because we've done 200-something coasters. So nice, thank you.
Right here, Daniel. The question was, what projects were quicker and what were longer? And was there any that you thought would be quick that were long, and any that you thought would be long would be quick?
Yeah, that's a long question.
Yeah.
It so much depends on the size of the coaster, you know what I'm saying? But typically what we do, when the parks call, we do our initial consult with them. We shoot for everything to be about 6 weeks. And if it's an average coaster, we get done in 6 weeks. And if they agree to it, then we only send 8 guys. If they said, no, we have to have it done in 4 weeks, we send 10 guys, or we got to have it done less and less. That project that I mentioned, Mako, down at SeaWorld, there was 30 guys on that. Unbelievable undertaking for us to do that. So it varies so much, it's hard to give you a specific answer.
I've got one more. So it's World Roller Coaster Appreciation Month. We've been celebrating, and we really appreciate everybody in the amusement industry who keeps the coasters running. And of course, thank you for your preservation efforts as part of that. What do you appreciate the most about the theme park industry?
To take the words of Mr. Canfield, it's and I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but the happiness that it brings to people, it's just what it is. You walk in any park, and even when it comes to the part that I deal with, I don't deal with the guests at all. Yeah. I deal with the park people, but park people are nice. They are. They're working in a happy environment. Even every park we work with, the maintenance people, and directors, and I say that in comparison, with all due respect, to average painting contractors working with general contractors on building schedules or new homes or whatever. That's tough, and people aren't always happy. But in the amusement park industry across the board, they're just happy folks and a pleasure to deal with.
Amazing. Chris, thank you so much for coming out to talk to us. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. We made it happen. And again, thank you so much to Chris Reyes, Tom Canfield, Charles Canfield, Chris Baynum for all of your presentations. We learned a lot today. We had so much fun, and amazing to hear from Elizabeth and Steve and Nick and Robert. Thank you. And thank you to you all for being here. For those listening at home who are not at CoasterCon, make sure you pay attention to all of ACE's social media, Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, and publications and coverage and footage from this week, and of course, our podcast. And if you haven't joined ACE yet, what are you waiting for? Check out ridewithace.com for more information. Thank Thank you all for listening. We hope you get to ride a coaster today. Woo!
Ride With Us is produced by the American Coaster Enthusiasts, a registered 501c3 organization. Visit ridewithace.com for additional information, and we will see you at the parks.